In the middle of the South China Sea, there's a small group of islands that's been the center of a heated battle for control. The catch? 3 countries, China, Vietnam, and the Philippines, each claim it as their own. But what's so special about these islands, and why are nations willing to risk so much for them? Stick around, because we're about to dive into the intense struggle behind one of the most complex territorial disputes in the world. If you thought islands in the middle of the ocean weren't that important, think again. The Spratly Islands aren't just any islands. They're the epicenter of a geopolitical chess game that could impact the entire region. Let's break down why these tiny specks of land are so crucial. On today's adventure, we will be discussing the islands that are claimed by 3 countries. The Spratly Islands are located in the South China Sea, a waterway that's not only critical for global trade, but also holds massive potential in oil and natural gas reserves. Despite their small size, these islands have become the focal point of a high-stakes territorial dispute between 3 powerful nations. But what exactly makes these islands so valuable, and why is the world paying so much attention to them? Let's start with why they matter so much. On the surface, the Spratlys might look like a collection of rocks and reefs, but they sit in the heart of one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. Trillions of dollars worth of goods pass through these waters every year. Beyond that, these islands are believed to sit atop rich oil and gas reserves, making them a highly sought-after prize. And of course, they offer strategic military advantages, allowing whoever controls them to dominate the region. Let's start with China. They claim nearly the entire South China Sea through the controversial 9-dash line, which stretches all the way to the Spratlys. This line was first drawn in the 1940s, and since then, China's been building artificial islands and military bases to back up its claim. China isn't just staking a historical claim, they're putting boots on the ground, literally, with military presence in the area. As China continues to build up its artificial islands and military infrastructure in the Spratlys, it's become increasingly difficult for neighboring countries to challenge its presence. These artificial islands are equipped with airstrips, radar systems, and even missile launchers, giving China significant control over the region. This military buildup isn't just about territorial claims, it's also about asserting dominance over key shipping lanes and energy resources. Then there's Vietnam. For them, the Spratlys are about much more than just territorial pride. These islands are key to national security, offering control over vital shipping lanes and access to resources. Vietnam has been present in the Spratlys for decades, with military personnel and fishermen making the islands their home. Vietnam's presence is a clear statement that they're not backing down. Vietnam has been increasingly vocal on the international stage, urging for a peaceful resolution to the dispute. At the same time, they've also been bolstering their own military presence in the region. The country has focused on protecting its territorial waters and advocating for the enforcement of international maritime law to prevent further escalation. The Philippines, on the other hand, has a different angle. They argue that the Spratlys lie within their exclusive economic zone, which makes China's claim illegal under international law. In fact, the Philippines won a major victory in 2016 when an international tribunal ruled that China's claims had no legal basis. But despite this, tensions continue to rise as China expands its presence in the region. The Philippines has also sought support from its allies, including the United States, which has military bases in the region. The Philippines has emphasized the importance of regional cooperation and international law in resolving the dispute, with the aim of preventing further militarization and securing its access to the resources within its exclusive economic zone. So we've got China, Vietnam, and the Philippines, each with their own reasons for claiming the Spratlys. What does this all mean for the people living in the area and the environment around them? But if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Alright, now let's jump back in and explore how this impacts the local communities. One of the biggest consequences of this dispute is the environmental damage caused by land reclamation. China, in particular, has been dredging sand from the seafloor to create artificial islands. It's causing a lot of harm to the coral reefs around the Spratlys. These reefs are home to a huge variety of marine life, and their destruction could have long-term effects on the region's ecosystem and local fishing communities. In addition to the direct destruction of coral reefs, the dredging and construction of artificial islands has caused shifts in ocean currents, potentially disrupting the surrounding marine ecosystems. These changes may have long-lasting effects on the biodiversity of the South China Sea, threatening the livelihoods of the millions who depend on these waters. The human cost is also significant. Fishermen from all 3 countries rely on the South China Sea for their livelihoods, and the increasing militarization of the region has made it more dangerous for them to work. In some cases, Chinese forces have even seized fishing boats from the Philippines, creating real tension between the 2 nations. Beyond the fishermen, there are entire communities that depend on these disputed areas for their survival. The increased military presence has forced some of these communities to leave, with entire villages of fishermen being relocated. This has not only caused economic distress, but has also led to the loss of traditional ways of life in these coastal regions. So, with so many competing claims, what happens next? The situation is incredibly complex. Diplomatic efforts have been made, but with so many players involved and so many conflicting interests, reaching a resolution seems unlikely anytime soon. While the region remains a flashpoint for naval confrontations, and tensions continue to simmer. But despite the uncertainty, one thing is clear. The Spratly Islands will remain at the center of a geopolitical struggle for years to come. There have been several attempts to resolve the dispute through diplomatic means, including multilateral negotiations under the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN. However, the varying interests of the countries involved and the growing influence of China in the region have made progress difficult. As tensions rise, international organizations like the United Nations and the European Union have also voiced concerns about the destabilizing impact of the dispute. Despite the uncertainty, one thing is clear. The Spratly Islands will remain at the center of a geopolitical struggle for years to come. The stakes are high, and every move made in this dispute sends ripples through the entire region and beyond. As we've seen, these tiny islands are far more than just pieces of land in the middle of the ocean. Spratlys represent a battle over resources, power, and national pride. Thanks for watching this video. If you found it interesting, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because we've got more deep dives into global conflicts and territorial issues coming your way.